Lots of people in the region can relate to growing up on a farm, especially back in perhaps the 40s or the 50s. And our author this morning with the book that I'm holding knows all too well about growing up on a farm in rural North Dakota. We have Sylvan Logering on our show with us this morning. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Jordan. Welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I am very excited. I have perused just a little bit of this book that he has published. And before we get into it, I'm just going to read the back of it so people can have an understanding, okay?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the back of the book says, imagine being just 14 years old when your big brother leaves in 1953 for the military, entrusting you with the care and training of Rocky, his young horse. In a big challenge for a little brother, this book right here, a young horse helps a young boy grow up. Sylvan Logering describes facing that situation. In the 2 years that follows, he builds a deep relationship with Rocky that teaches him about responsibility and about himself. Written for anyone who likes stories about farming, the quote-unquote old days, horses, or heartwarming and heart-wrenching plots, this true story will bring back memories, provide inspiration, and teach the younger generation about a time not that long past. Well, if that doesn't draw you in, I don't know what does.
I hope it does.
Yeah, and so let's just talk about the story that people can expect in the book. I know we just went over it briefly, but what was your experience in living this situation?
Well, what I ended up doing, I've been wanting to write things for forever, but I've been working on this, and I started to write a story about Rocky, this little 2-year time frame in my life when my brother was in the service and I worked with Rocky. And I couldn't stop there. As I started, I thought, you know what, this is a story in a vacuum. Things happened before that story, certain things happened after that story. And so I ended up going back, about as far back as you can go in my memory. Honestly, I was 2 years old. And we had a tornado. I met this baby horse, and that's kind of where the horse starts, or the story starts, and my tie to horses started. So through there, I picked up a thread of events with horses leading up to the point where Rocky became a part of my life. And it gets into how ill-prepared I really was. I was not ready to train a horse. I knew nothing about horses.
Mm-hmm. And so for people at home, what small town in North Dakota was it?
This is near Brampton, North Dakota, which not many people have heard of. They know where Oaks is, about 30 miles southeast of there, straight south of Lisbon, just north of Breton, South Dakota.
Okay.
It's Sargent County.
Yeah, so a very rural, small town.
Very small town.
And I'm guessing you grew up out in the country then.
I grew up in the country. Actually, I was born in the family home in Mantador, North Dakota. We moved a couple times, but in 1942 we moved to a new home. I believe we sent a picture along of that of the family standing in front of the house. That pretty much gives you an idea of our economic status, but that's the farm where all the events happen we talked about on here.
Yeah, right there we're seeing that
are.
photo. So there's a lot of you there.
Well, at that point,
is that your siblings?
That's my parents and my siblings. At that point, that's not all of them.
Oh, that's not all of them.
This picture
Okay.
was taken in 1945. 3 more children were born after that. I actually brought along a picture with all 14 of us on there.
You're one of 14?
I was number 6 of 14.
Is that the full picture right there?
That's the full picture right there.
Wow. Do you know which one you are in that?
I am right in the middle. The little guy in front is the baby. I'm standing directly behind him in the middle.
Oh, you're holding your hands on his shoulders.
My hands are near his shoulders, at least.
Okay. There you are. And do you recall what year that was?
That would have been 1951, I'm guessing, because the youngest one was born in 49. He looks to be about 2 years old there, so I'm thinking that was 51.
And so in this book, you talk about, not only training your horse and growing up with it, but just growing up in what by today's standards would be a very unusually large family.
Well, it would be a large family, and this new home we moved into, the one we stood by in the first one, was 765 square feet for the entire 2-bedroom house. Wow. To start with 8 of us kids, and we went on to 14. That was our home. So it's smaller than a small 2-bedroom apartment, really. And then we had the barns and that type of thing. Pretty much rundown situation. But a big reality of life was that everybody worked. You could almost say to survive. When you were 5 or 6 years old, you were feeding chickens and gathering eggs, and the responsibilities grew from there to the point where the hierarchy was, if you worked in the fields, in my mind, that was That was the ultimate. You were one of the big guys that worked in the fields. But prior to that, it was working in the gardens, washing dishes, milking cows, carrying buckets, just whatever it took. We had no indoor plumbing. We had running water, but that was all, and it wasn't heated water. Outdoor, the old outhouse, no refrigerator on the farm all the time that I lived there till I was gone. They eventually got a kerosene refrigerator after I left. So by today's standards, as you say, this was a different life. And what I'm hoping people can do, those people that lived that will remember a lot. That this is not my story. All across the country, right after the war, families on the farm lived like that. There were no new appliances, no new cars. Nothing was manufactured during the war except war material. So everything the farmers people had was old and run down, probably had no money. So whether you lived in North Dakota, South Dakota, all the way down to Texas or East or West, that was the life for many people. And I want our readers to understand that.
And definitely, by today's standards, a difficult life with what you were talking about, with the small space for all of you, the no refrigerator, no running water. But yet it seems that you look back at times of it with fondness. And so what about that upbringing do you wish more people could experience?
I think freedom just to be. I mean, the work gave you a purpose. You were there, you were needed, you were important. Even if you were 8 years old, carrying milk buckets from the farm, from the barn, you were important. You were part of a big process, and you had a sense of belonging in that sense. And also, when we weren't doing those things, there was room to explore. Wander down along the creeks, look at fish in the water, look at the animal tracks in the mud. Just a freedom of life that is tough to find in the towns these days.
That's one of my favorite things I've ever been told. Freedom to be. I think that does sound amazing and something that more people would enjoy if life offered it to them. And so what are some of the lessons, though, that you learned? It talks about you breaking in this horse. You said you had it from 2. What were some of the other life lessons that you learned specifically from trying to train the animal and growing up with the animal?
Well, I guess for one thing, I learned to try to communicate what I wanted. I want this horse to do this. How do I tell it that's what I want it to do? And I'd seen some examples of that with work horses, but this was a riding horse. So you didn't sit and pull the reins and go this way or this way. You use the reins in different ways to tell the horse what to do. The combination of hands, the feet, the tone of voice, the whatever, tried to convey the message. This is what I want. But I also had to learn to accept the fact that it didn't always happen that way, and I had to adjust to that and live with the results.
Yeah, and learn sometimes the hard way, I'm sure.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. Well, the book, A Big Challenge for a Little Brother, by Sylvan Logreen. He is here with us today. Where can people get this book if they're interested?
And they can go to my website, which is given on the back of the book, but it's the name of the book, A Big Change for a Little Brother, all one word.com is the website. There's a link in there that'll take you directly to the NDSU bookstore. You can order through that online. You can walk into the NDSU bookstore and buy them right off the shelf. Or I picked up a couple of new outlets in southeast North Dakota here. Oaks, North Dakota, there's a little place called Sweets and Stories. They sell food, they sell books. Okay. And I thought, oh, they feed their body, they feed their mind. I don't know if that's their slogan, but that's what I thought of. You can go in there, that's Oaks, North Dakota, right on Main Avenue. And recently we picked up a place in Winemere, North Dakota, just south of here, Virginia's Photos and Flowers.
Okay.
She's selling them there also. So there's 2 outlets there, NDSU, and wholesalers, group sales, whatnot. They can get a hold of me through the contact on the website.
Okay, wonderful. And we'll have all that information on our website as well. Sylvan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, wonderful. Get this book. People are going to want to read it. Anyway, stick around. Coming up here on North Dakota Today, we're going to be talking about some of the latest design trends. You won't want to miss out on those. Stick around.